Hello, everyone. Welcome. We are very happy to have you here. Today, we are going to have a wonderful panel. As you know, this is the International Education Week that we celebrate this week. And this panel is part of this particular effort here. And my name is Dr. Cobanoglu, and I am the and Mike Gibbon Endowed Chair Professor and also director of M3 Center. And today I have two USF students here that's going to join me. And I would like to invite first Britannia Lawrence. Britannia, welcome.
Hi, good afternoon. How are you today?
Great, thank you so much. And I also would like to invite Patty Birliska. Patty, welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Nice to see you both.
Wonderful. I'm so happy that you become part of this panel. I just want to first start our panel by asking you if you can please introduce yourselves. Britannia, maybe we can start with you. Please tell us who you are and what you are doing currently.
Hi, my name is Britannia. I'm a previous graduate from USF. I majored in business management, and during my time there, I had a focus in legal studies.
Wonderful. Thank you again. Welcome. And Patty, how about you?
Hi, everyone. My name is Patty. I'm currently an undergraduate student at USF. I'm majoring in hospitality management and minoring in business, while I am also a part of the honors program. I'm conducting research on robots with Dr. Jihan.
Wonderful. And that research is going very well, and I'm very proud of you, Patty, in that context as well. So, Britannia, let me just start by asking you, can you please tell us what is your international experience? What did you do? I know that you are from Jamaica originally, but you came to America many years ago. Please walk us through what kind of international experience have you been exposed to?
Well, my heritage is Jamaican, and I have been in the United States for 20 years now. But during that time, I spent a lot of time back in Jamaica visiting my family and just enriching myself in the Jamaican culture that my family has immigrated to the United States. During my other international experiences, I've attended 2 study abroad trips. I went to the USF Prague program, and I also went to the USF Florence business program. I've also traveled on my own. I've been to Spain, the Netherlands, the Czech Republic, Amsterdam, and I've just had a really great time. So I feel like I'm very well versed in traveling, and that's one of my major hobbies.
Wonderful. Thank you. How about you, Patty? I know that you were an international student here, but please tell us a little bit about yourself also in that context.
Absolutely. I am originally from Warsaw, Poland. I moved to the United States when I was 13, so 8 years ago now. So it was definitely a big culture change going from Poland to the United States. However, in the meantime, I was also able to travel a lot. So I've actually been to over 50 countries with my mom ever since I was a little girl. So I have been able to visit a lot of different countries with cultures, diversity, different beliefs, and kind of get a gather from being all around the world. From my own country to coming to the United States. So it has definitely been a really interesting journey. I absolutely love everything that has to do with international students and with learning about international studies. So it's very interesting also how it combines with USF. So it's definitely been a wonderful experience.
That's wonderful. And Patty, you are very lucky. Being visited 50 countries at your age is unbelievable. So even visiting just one country makes some major changes in you, but that's wonderful. I want to talk about that experience in a second, but let me ask Britannia, can you please tell me, Britannia, you said that you've been to USF Florence. What was the other study abroad program you attended?
I went to the USF Prague program, which is the supply
Oh, Prague.
chain management program.
Okay,
Wow.
wonderful, great. So those are, even though they are both in Europe, right? One in Florence, Italy, the other one is Prague and Czech Republic, but they are different from each other. Can you please tell me what was the feeling that you had when you went there? Was it your first time abroad, first of all?
My first time in Europe was my USF in Florence program, and my it was a very wonderful experience. However, Prague and Florence are such different, vibes in such different countries that you experience the culture in different ways, and you appreciate the culture in different ways. So yeah.
So when you went to Florence for the first time, how was that? Did you feel challenged? Were you had any cultural shock, or was it based on what you already knew about Italy? It was just, hey, very easy transition.
I feel that it wasn't an easy transition for me. Although Italy is a beautiful, wonderful country, there was some cultural shocks that even though you could research all day long about what's going on in the country, you really don't understand it until you really step into that country. And one of the cultural shocks for me was when I was interacting with people on the street and I really didn't speak any Italian. So you try to like communicate yourself through body language and like trying to deduct what you're trying to say so you can communicate with them. But I did have a great time in Italy. I did deal with some challenges where you're adjusting to the lifestyle change because Italians, they like to be up all night, and I'm a person who likes to go to sleep at 10 p.m. So that was a culture shock for me.
And dinner time in Italy can be sleeping time in USA, right? Usually they
Yes, for
eat
sure.
quite late. Yeah, but Britannia, you really mentioned something I think very interesting and very true right now. So you said that even though you can research all day long along, that it's never the same to experience it in there, especially during these pandemic times that we cannot travel. That I think it becomes even
Mhm.
more valuable. You kind of like understand even more the value of like having that experience, right? Would you
I
agree?
definitely agree. Yes, for sure.
Right. We also have another guest, I guess. One of the dogs are coming. That's nice.
So
We,
sorry.
no, no, don't be sorry, Pat. That's perfectly fine. This is the reality right now, right? That's what we are doing every single day. And even though, look at technology that brings us all together and connect us to people all around the world, but yet, if we were to have this conversation face to face, I bet that our experience would have been different. So we usually would like it much better. So that's kind of like being part of a human. We are all social animals. So Patty, I want to turn to you now. You've been to many countries, but do you remember your first country, or were you too young? I assume that you were quite young when you traveled first time internationally.
Yes, I actually, the first country I've ever traveled to when I was 3 that I kind of remember, but not too much, was actually Italy, which is in Europe, so it wasn't too far. But right when I started, around 6 years old, the first big country that we traveled to was Thailand. And that is our favorite place of all. And we've returned there about 11 times now. It's just so amazing. So that was the first country that I really went to that was international, was Thailand.
So how was it? Can you? We also have people joining us from different parts of the world. Somebody said hello from Istanbul, so we also say hello to our viewer. And Patty, do you remember a time when you went to these countries? Let's say Thailand is your favorite country. You've been there many, many times. That do you remember being uncomfortable or challenge or culture shock? How was that?
I definitely think at first, like Britannia said, when you travel to a new country, it's kind of a culture shock because everything is different. You know, the way people act is different, their culture, their beliefs, even from the food they eat to what they do in their daily life. So it definitely is a big culture shock at first. But I'm a very people person. So I love meeting new people and talking to new people. So I think for me personally, I was really able to overcome any of the challenges that arised when I was at those countries. So I kind of took them and turned them into positives. We're learning from the people that I saw and kind of their daily life, like Britannia said, kind of trying to communicate with body language and figuring out what works. So definitely there are some challenges when traveling international. But I think by being really a big people person and wanting to learn and understand the culture, I think it's much easier and better as a visitor or a traveler.
I think, Patty, what you are referring to is the attitude, right? You
Yeah.
need to have the right attitude before you even start traveling. Then, when you go to those countries, and you need to be open to learning. I remember, like I teach a class called International Food and Culture. What is a bug to a culture could be a delicatessen to another culture, so it is just like different. I always tell that there is no good and bad in culture, because you can't judge somebody else the way that they are doing. And Britannia, I bet that in Jamaica, even though it's not really that far from Florida, you can probably fly to Jamaica under 1 hour, or maybe roughly 1 hour by plane, but yet the culture is quite different there. Did you also find that although you came about 20 years ago to USA from Jamaica, but did you ever feel that culture shock when you came to USA first?
I definitely do agree. I guess I wouldn't have felt the culture shock when I first arrived here because I did arrive here so young. But when I was traveling back to Jamaica from the United States, I felt like a definite culture shock because they view me as being Americanized, and I view myself as very rich in my culture, which is from Jamaica. So that was definitely a struggle for me, which I was trying to adjust to the Jamaican island lifestyle because living on an island, although we think Florida is an island, it's a completely different vibe and a completely different way that you have to present yourself in Jamaica. But I did enjoy my time there. I enjoy the cultural experiences that I enjoyed, and I definitely look at it from an optimistic point of view, where that I'm enriching myself in this culture, and I'm also enriching them from my culture from the United States.
Wonderful. You're right. This is really a win-win-win situation for everybody. Whenever you are exposed to international culture, you give, you take, and that's what's all about. Patty, how about you? How old were you when you came to United States?
I was
From
13 years old, so 8 years ago.
So you remember everything. You were not like Brittany. You were not that young. So how was that experience for you when you came? How did you feel? What did you feel? Did you feel part of this culture, or was it different?
It was kind of a little bit similar in some aspects, but a lot of it was very new. I remember, especially when I first moved here, I just turned 13 and it was kind of the growing up stage of going to high school. And it was very different. I mean, from starting to with the food to the way people spoke in everyday life, the activities, and definitely going to school, especially such big high schools in the United States. It was definitely a big shock when first even walking through the school and seeing so many people and everything was foreign to me. I didn't really speak English as well as I do now. My vocabulary has definitely grown a lot. So even I remember when first having conversation with American students, some of them I didn't understand what they were saying to me, and I kind of would be in the conversation, maybe laughing or talking to them, but I wouldn't actually understand what they were talking about. So it's definitely a big culture shock when I first moved here. But I've noticed that over the time, I've adapted more, and now I'm in culture shock of when I go back home. So it's kind of very funny the way it changes.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. I just want to share with you that we have again this. I believe the same viewer from Turkey. We have a student exchange programs too. Would like to invite you to Beykent University in Istanbul. By the way, that's my hometown. I was born in Istanbul. I believe that you enjoy discovering Turkish culture. We thank and Turkish cuisine too. He's adding or she's adding that we welcome that comment. And you know what? I mean, I am just cannot tell you how much I'm impatient to start traveling. I was just earlier reading about a news in Florida that Tampa General Hospital is going to get a COVID vaccine. As soon as that's being approved by FDA.
Yes.
So I'm gonna be in line. I remember when I came to America many years ago. Came to America just like you guys did in 1996 as a student, graduate student. Now we don't have this tradition, but at that time, there was this Thanksgiving and Black Friday. I don't know if you remember that or not, but this is before all these mobile phones. We used to actually go to the stores at 2, 3 a.m. and wait for that to open at 5 or 6 a.m. and then
Right,
you
yes.
go in. So I am going to be like that for that vaccine when it comes. I'm going to go if they are going to say, "Hey, get in line," and just cannot wait to travel. But I want to just ask you, while you're students, so of course both of you have traveled extensively, which is wonderful, and you've participated in study abroad programs. But can you please tell me, based on your experience, if a student at USF or any other place, right? We are in the International Week. We are celebrating International Week. We all value the of the international experience. But if you don't have the means to go to Italy, to Thailand, to any place, do you have any other ways for other students to have a global experience without actually traveling? Of course, traveling would be the best ideal, right? To be able to live that culture. But is there anything else that you have done yourself, or you can say that, look, you can maybe do this, that will also help you? Brittany, let's start with you. Do you have any suggestions?
Yes. Over the summer before COVID, like last summer, I visited Germany and I really fell in love with the culture. So I started to learn the German language on my own. And that's how I'm able to immerse myself within that culture. I also like to watch a lot of international movies and international shows. Like I watch Parasite, which is from like the Asian region, and I watch a lot of German shows here to work on my German language. I think that if you want to immerse yourself within a culture, although you're abroad, I would start by meeting friends who are abroad. Thank God we live in the digital age where we're able to have Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and you can make friends who live in those different countries, and you guys can exchange ideas, exchange cuisine, and just exchange like ways of living. So that's something I would definitely recommend.
Wonderful. Great suggestions. Patty, how about you?
Absolutely. Like Britannia said, I definitely agree that in today's age of using social media, it can be a really important tool. From starting to network on different apps and websites, from LinkedIn, from USF, or involved in any other kind of organizations that are online. Maybe finding also friends or people from abroad within in your own community, your church or school. There's a lot of people to meet out there. And definitely, I think by networking and starting through social media during coronavirus, especially, it's really important to learn about the cultures, maybe read the news, the articles, like Brittany said, maybe watch movies or shows, cooking shows, and travel shows. There's a lot of places where people travel and show it on cameras. I think getting familiar with a lot of the outlets and resources that we have available to us via internet and applying them to meeting people in real life, or maybe going to local restaurants that are different themes of different countries and being able to network that way. I think that's a really important tool we can use also.
Great suggestions. I agree with you. I also refer back to my own times. I am now almost 50 years old. So when I was in your age, we didn't have internet. Can you imagine a world without the internet, without WhatsApp, Facebook, all that stuff? There was nothing. But yet, even at that time, pen pal, right? People were writing to each other. It would take 1 month for your letter to go to the other side, but they still have done it. And in today's generation, I think that they are very lucky, just like both of you have iterated, that now having this or internet access, if you are lucky. By the way, saying like this is easy, but still a significant portion of the world do not even have electricity. Forget about cell phone, internet access. So we, of course, recognize that, right? That's why I think worldwide, one of the best gifts to anybody is the internet, the computer, because that opens the world to you, right? Just like you said. And Brittany, I agree with you, because I had a colleague and she did not speak English at all. And she started watching English movies, subtitle, and she learned very, very quickly in a very nice way that sometimes, just like Patty was saying earlier, when you are among let's say 4 or 5 Americans in the beginning, when you don't understand the language, they make a joke, everybody laughs, and you kind of laugh, but you didn't understand.
Hmm.
So that student actually could understand those jokes because of watching those movies. So there is a lot of things that you can do. And I always tell that to my students as well. Of course, traveling is the one of the best ways to immerse into a culture, but that's not the only way, just like you have reiterated. um, I want to shift gears to a little bit challenges, like in your international, besides this culture shock that you went there, was there any problems, for example, in your personal or professional settings when you were traveling, or in USA, right? We are very lucky to live in USA because we are exposed to many different cultures without even going anywhere. So, was there any challenges for you? Like, for example, oh my God, how do they do this? It's taken you a long time to understand. Was there any situations like this? Patty, how about you? We'll start with you.
I haven't really faced that many challenges except the culture shock, but I think, Dr. Chan, like you said, with really adapting into the environment that you live in and kind of maybe deciding the person you want to be, I think it's very, easy to get caught up in different ways for the person you want to be because there's a lot of influences from people that are around you, your friends, your colleagues, and I think really picking what you want to do also in your life is kind of a big challenge, as especially United States, like you said, Dr. Chan, so diverse, and there's so many cultures and things to do, different jobs, different career opportunities, educational opportunities. So I think definitely having a lot of the resources right at your hands, sometimes it can be overwhelming. But I think really deciding the person that you are and who you want to be is a really important factor. And that challenge can be turned into a positive outcome for really being the best person that you can with what you want to do. So except with culture shock, that is definitely the biggest challenge, I think, is with all of the things that are kind of thrown at you and the opportunities you have is to really pick what you want to do with your life. And as it is a country of opportunities, they are unlimited. So that is definitely a challenge turned into a positive.
Wonderful. Brittany, how about you? Do you remember recall any experience that you were quite challenged with the exposure to a different culture?
Well, in the United States, we drive a lot. So one of the challenges I had to face was like learning how to use the bus system and learning how to use the trains and like not being able to just get in my car and just go to a destination. I had to plan around what time I wanted to arrive and like what time the train and bus came. Also, because I spent a lot of time in Europe and in the island setting, I had to adjust to drinking water, which seems like a very small thing, but it's like in Europe, you have to pay for your water at the table. And that's kind of a different experience for me because I thought, oh, like here's the food, here's $12. And then it's like, oh, here's an extra €5 because the water is not free. And then when you travel to some places within the Caribbean, you can't really drink the tap water. So you have to get used to buying bottled water. So that's a challenge that I definitely faced.
Right. And also we are having more and more viewers are saying hello to you. Sedan is saying what an
Hello.
inspirational webinar. So we also send our greetings to her. And also Halil Gergin sends hello to you from Istanbul, and another viewer from from Istanbul. Looks like Turkish people are watching us heavily, which is so nice. It's always good to have in a global webinar, global audience as well too. So wonderful. This is really interesting, all the stuff that you are saying. And then the challenges are, even though they can be quite challenges, especially I remember myself when I came to America for the first time, that considering the fact that we didn't have the internet and all that stuff at that time, that it was more unknown. So it was just like kind of like going into a culture without knowing, and you kind of explore as you go along. But one of the things I think critical, and I want to ask you about this, is being open to changes and adaptive. Like when you go to another culture, like Brittany, for example, when you said that you go to Jamaica, that culture shift is kind of like you need to be open to it, right? You can't just have an attitude, oh my God, that's not the way to do it. For example, people walking or going to bus or whatever that they are doing, eating or drinking. what is your thoughts about that, being adaptive into different cultures and different ways of doing things?
I go first.
Yeah, I'll start with you. Yes, please.
Well, I would be doing an injustice if I didn't speak about the experiences I have as a Black woman. Sometimes when I would travel, I would be the only Black person in a town, let alone a seating setting. So I felt like I had to be a bit more aware of my surroundings, because some people may have some prejudices against someone who looks like me without actually getting to know me. So that was definitely something I had to do, be adaptable with, where it's like I wanted to give people the benefit of the doubt by showing them my personality and the person who I am, and feeling like I have to represent a large array of people who may be just like me, but also may be different from me. So that's something I had to learn in order to be adaptable with.
Yeah, Brittany, I think you brought up a very interesting and nice point, that just because the way that you look might be different. I remember when I was in China, I had a African American friend, and he told me that he was being stopped on the street, and sometimes people pull his hair to see if it is real, or touch, or taking pictures. Those kind of experiences, did it bother you? Were you
There were
offended?
there were times where it did bother me, but I had to look at it from a larger point of view, that within their culture, they may have never met someone who looked like me. So it may not have come from a hateful place. It may have just come from a curious place, because they don't know any better, because they haven't interacted with someone who's like me. But everywhere you go around the world, you are going to experience some sort of adversity. It's not just one specific culture. You could be in China, you could be in Amsterdam, or the Netherlands, you
India.
could be in Jamaica. It's like, you, instead of looking at it as a negative experience, you should look at it as a pedal to grow, and a pedal for your tool belt and your library of how you want to develop as a person and how you want to express yourself to the world.
That's wonderful. I think the attitude that you are describing here is a wonderful. When you go back to my friend's example, he told me that he even started enjoying it. He felt like a celebrity when he was walking on the streets of Beijing, for example. But Brittany, what you were describing to me, I think, is empathy, right? You really put yourself in those people's shoes, that maybe you are the first Black person that they may have seen, right? And for that reason, you are seeing this as a way to educate them, which is kind of like brings us the value of internationalization. So not only travel, but even watching movies and seeing these things really help you to understand, because once people understand, they respect, they learn, and they understand. Oh my God, this is, and all of my travels, and I want to ask Patty about this, taught me. I've been to about 70 countries myself as well too. But at the end of the day, the way they look, the way they dress, the way that they eat, the way that they greet each other may be different. But at the end of the day, we are all humans. Our feelings, love, hate, whatever, all of them are the same. So when you think about it at the end of the day, that you really create an empathy and see this as a way to for them to learn. And Patty, you don't look different than Americans, but did you have any experiences in America that made you feel that you don't necessarily belong to here, but yet you, just like Brittany, you have seen this as an opportunity to teach about your culture, being from Poland?
I think, as you described and Brittany said, Dr. Chan, I think turning into an opportunity. I remember when I first moved, especially in the United States, going on my first day of school, being in a small town where USF in Sarasota is, there isn't as many international students as in most likely big cities. So I think it was a big culture shock also for the American students that I had interacted with. I remember I was kind of like a popular student just because they've never seen anybody from a different country. And I think they used it as an opportunity to really learn about, the other parts of the world. As the United States is so big, a lot of Americans don't need to per se travel abroad to get a lot of different experiences because it's such a big country. There's many states, with kind of its own different cultures and traditions. So I think it was definitely a big shock to them at first and to myself. It was a lot of new people. But like you said, being, I think, open to the culture and really wanting to learn from other people and not to have that strict mind of everything you want to do your way, but to really let other people teach you about their culture. I think that's very special. When you really become close with other people in international countries or in the United States, I think they want to show you their traditions and what they love they have and what they believe in, what is their favorite food, or what are their traditional songs, or anything they have to do with their family. I think it's very special becoming open to that culture. And like Britannia said with her experience, it was really funny when I was in India. I must have been, I think, 9 years old at the time. We went to Taj Mahal, which not a lot of tourists per se go to, as it was a lot of local people from India. So they were in shock that my mom and I were white women because everybody there was from India the day that we went. So remember, they come up to me and they want to take pictures with me, and they were touching my clothes, like Britannia said, the hair, the clothes, and kind of being in a different environment. So I think international or even the United States, being from a different culture and seeing different cultures is very special, and the adaptability and the mindset you have can definitely make it an incredible experience.
Absolutely, absolutely. How wonderful. We're gonna close in a few minutes. I just want to bring you one comment. One of our viewers have put, Netflix is another way to discover a different culture watching foreign film during Corona days. I agree. Don't you agree? That's a wonderful tool there, right, for us to be able to kind of learn different. I know that Britannia is having some troubles with the connection there, but Patty. So, okay, here we go. Welcome back. I know that you're going in and out, but that's great. So, in conclusion, I would like to ask both of you your closing comments. Like, what are some of the advices that you can give to your fellow students, at USF or any other place around the world, besides what already has been covered? Patty, I'll start with you.
Absolutely. There are definitely a lot of resources, even talking about specifically USF, with networking with other students and professors like Dr. Tihan. It can be something that truly is life-changing, as it has to me. And I think really taking advantage of the opportunities that you have and really putting yourself out there of wanting to do more, wanting to learn more about cultures, wanting to learn more about people, about traditions, and really take a lot of the opportunities from social media, from the internet, from clubs, from different kind of organizations and communities to really put all of that together and really working with what you have by really meeting a lot of people. There's so many incredible doors that can open. And if it's international or even if it's in your own country, I think definitely believing in yourself and figuring out what you want to do. If traveling abroad or traveling within your own country, meeting people, studying, networking, anything that you want to do, as long as you put your mind to it and work towards it, it is really an incredible experience. And it truly has made me into the person I am today. And without it, I don't really know what I would do. Without meeting incredible professors and people and traveling, I don't think I would be in the same place with my mind and where I am now. So definitely taking those opportunities is absolutely incredible and will change your life.
Wonderful. How wonderful, Patty. You put it in the perspective. But you also said one more thing that I really want to bring it up, that traveling doesn't have to be international, right? Even domestic travel, even in your hometown, to go into different places might teach you a lot of great experience, may bring you a lot of great experiences as well, too. That's wonderful. Brittany, how about you? Let us take your also closing comments. Any advices for fellow or other students around the world?
To anyone watching this, if you want to travel abroad, travel, go have that experience. It is a life-changing experience. And I know many people say that, but it's not until you go and step foot on the ground there that you realize how much it impacts your life. It changes your worldview because you start to think, wow, people live like this across the pond, across the ocean. And you think, wow, what can I change, or what can be adjusted back home where I am to make my life improve? Or how can I improve the lives of other people while abroad by enriching them with that experience? But thank you so much. I unfortunately have to go, but I thank you guys for having me on this show. And I hope that anyone who's watching this takes the opportunity to go abroad and really benefits from this organization.
Great. Thank you. I would like to thank both of you for sharing your experiences and views about internationalization and international experience. So I also wish to all of people who may be watching this video that go out, just experience, immerse yourself in different cultures. There is nothing to be feared or scared of. As you learn more, you're going to feel more comfortable and more complete. Thank you, both of you again, Patty and Britannia. I
Thank you
appreciate
so much for having
Thank
me.
you.
And
it. Happy International Week
Okay.
as well, too. Yep, bye-bye.
Thank